And welcome to On the Money with Secure Money. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Brian Quaranta. He is president and founder of Secure Money Advisors, as well as Neil Major, senior investment advisor. Brian, let me start with you. How are you today?
I am doing well, Cynthia. How are you?
Fantastic. Always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for having me on the show. Neil, how are you?
I'm great, Cynthia. How are you today?
I am fantastic. And I'm so excited about today's show, gentlemen, because obviously you're both so extremely passionate about helping people retire comfortably, retire with peace of mind, most importantly, making sure that they're on the right track. So for a moment, Brian, let me ask you, when you talk about someone being on the right track, where did that philosophy come from, the need to be on the right track?
Well, actually, I will give the credit to Neil.
Okay.
Because he said, you know, Brian, he said, everybody keeps coming in, and the first thing they always ask us is, when we say, you know, what's the number one most important thing you want to try to accomplish by the time the meeting's over? Most everybody says, I just want to know if I'm on the right track.
Nice.
So you go, okay, well, what does being on the right track actually mean, right? What does it exactly mean? Well, it means that you have solved your income problem. It means that you've looked at tax strategies to eliminate taxation in retirement. It means you've reevaluated your investments to make sure that you own the right investments with the right risk levels. A lot of times what you'll see with investments as people get older is they're taking this much risk and they're only getting this much return. And so we've developed a software that will tell us how much risk somebody's taking versus the return that they're getting. It also means what happens if a health event were to take place and you were to need care or have to pay for care. And then more importantly is when the good Lord decides to take you home, right? What's the estate planning gonna look like? That's what it means to be on the right track. Having a 401k is great. It means you're doing some investing. But that doesn't mean that you're on the right track. Just because you're contributing money, you know, maybe your employer's contributing, doesn't mean that you're tracking towards what you need. And so what we teach people is how to work backwards, right? So if I have someone that's coming in and they want to retire in 15 years, how do you get them there? Well, the first thing we got to determine is what are we exactly going to need in retirement as far as income goes.
Okay.
Now, some people might think that that's a hard thing to figure out, but it's really not. Because if you just take their current day income and you apply a little bit of an inflation rate to it, it'll bring you to that number. Now we can work backwards and figure out, okay, if we're going to need this much income, how much are we going to have to contribute every month? What rate of return are we going to need to have? How much volatility could we absorb from the markets? And this now is what building a plan is all about, right?
Sure.
These are the different factors that have to be built in so that you walk away feeling secure and you feel that you really have something that you can sink your teeth into and go, you know what, I actually am going to be able to do this retirement thing. And I'm going to be able to do it on my terms, and I'm going to be able to retire on the date that I want to retire. And that's how everybody should feel. It shouldn't just be, you know, let me roll the dice and see where I land in a couple of years. Like that's not an approach. So that's what being on the right track means.
Thank you, Brian. Neil, great idea that you came up with. I love that. You know, you want to know, are you on the right track?
Don't give them too much credit.
No, it's great.
Like Brian said, it was literally every person coming in, am I on the right track? Am I on the right track? And what's funny is that the right track is different for every person that comes in.
It is,
Sure.
yeah.
So it's when you say, am I on the right track? Give me more information about what exactly you mean by being on the right track. Because some people feel it's investments, some people it's preparing their income,
right?
Some people it's making sure they make the necessary tax changes or consequences they're going to have to make to be better positioned in the future. So a right track kind of can mean something different for everybody.
But the fundamentals, you know, even though the pressing concerns are different for everybody, right? Somebody might say, well, you know, we really don't talk to our investment, you know, person, and we're not really getting any good advice, and you know, we just don't feel that we're in the right things at this point. You hear different, like, higher level concerns than that, but as a fiduciary, our job is to check in on the fundamentals, meaning, even though somebody might not be saying, I have an income concern, we're still going to look at their income. We're going to run the proper analysis, like looking at what happens if we have an inflationary environment, what happens if you lose a spouse, what happens if there's a big loss in the market. Is that income that they currently have coming in still going to be sustainable throughout the years, right? So we're still checking on the fundamentals of the plan, even though it might not be a primary concern. And that's how we make sure that they're on the right track.
I love that. Well, Neil, I know that you and Brian are very passionate about education. We've talked in the past about workshops. Are those going on right now?
Yeah, actually, we love educating the public, getting out there and kind of getting in our local communities and just because, a lot of this information just isn't understood.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know the right resources to get the information from. So
Couldn't they just go to Google?
well, at your own risk, right? At your own risk.
That's what my wife
Dr.
does when she
Google,
Dr.
yeah,
Google.
of course,
The next thing I know, we got anxiety about some ailment.
Yeah. That's the worst thing to do is Google when you're sick.
Very dangerous.
Yeah, well, Google says I shouldn't have a 401k. I should have an IRA. Google says I should be doing a Roth conversion, but
Maybe, right? Yeah, so we do the show, we do the radio show, and people get a lot of information from there, but they want more. And so now that we're able to get back out there, get in the communities, be at our local community centers, libraries, universities, restaurants, it's a great way for people to get more of the philosophy, get more of the feel for people that they could potentially be working with if they've found a fit. And so it's just a really nice, relaxing way to get some education, but also to get an experience of philosophy, what these people are like. So.
Absolutely. And Brian, we've talked about this in the past, obviously. If someone is in the viewing audience today and they think they already have a plan, they went to their mailbox and they grabbed out that statement. That's not really the plan, is it? Let's talk about that.
A statement's not a plan, no. It's not. A statement's a statement.
Right.
Having a guy's not a plan.
Having a guy's not a plan, but no, a plan really should be in a binder. We have a big, I wish we had one here at the studio that I could show, but we have a 3-ring binder, and that binder includes, number one, most importantly, it includes, is the first thing our clients see when they open up their binder is a tax strategy for inheritance, because most likely if that binder's getting opened by anybody other than them, it might be because of a death. So there's instructions in there to the beneficiaries not to make any moves that would cause a big taxable event, because there's a strategy that's been put in place.
Okay.
Number 2, there's a consolidated asset summary in there so they can see where all of their money is, whether it's with us or outside of us, right? Number 2 is their income strategy. Number 3 is all their beneficiary documents with all their beneficiaries listed, all their life insurance policies, long-term care policies, estate planning documents. Everything is in one place. This way, when they do a review, with that binder, and that is their financial life. If anything ever happens to them, our clients know that when they go, when they're leaving for, whether they're snowbirds and they're headed to Florida for the winter for 6 months, or they're headed on a trip for the summer, their kids know if anything happens, there's a binder, it says secure money, pull it, everything's in there, instructions of what to do. Now, unfortunately, we do deal with a lot of death at our office. So, it's not something that I guess, I mean, we're kind of good at processing death claims. And I guess that's a good thing for people that are looking for someone to handle that, because there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of gotchas that can happen at death that cause unnecessary taxable events. So, but yeah, that's what planning's all about.
Well, Brian, I know that you and Neil have a very special offer to present to the viewers at home today. Let's talk about what that is and then open the phone lines.
Yeah, folks, the Right Track retirement system really was designed with you in mind to give you that peace of mind that we all deserve going into retirement. But it really is designed to go over 5 key areas with you when you come in. It's going to go over your income, your taxes, your investments, your healthcare strategy, and of course your estate planning strategy. You can call us today. As a matter of fact, for the next 10 callers, we're going to give a complimentary Right Track retirement review. All you got to do is call the number 1-888-382-1298. Folks, this is not the time to procrastinate. This is not the time to kick the can down the road. If you've been thinking about doing this, pick up the phone right now and call us. And remember, maybe you just need a second opinion. Well, you can't get a second opinion from the person that gave you the first opinion. So again, call 1-888-382-1298 to schedule your Right Track retirement review.
Brian, thank you so much. Neil, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 888-382-1298. We know you have a lot of questions for Brian and Neil about how to plan your perfect retirement. All you have to do is take advantage of picking up the phone today and finding out if you're on the right track. 888-382-1298. We have to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, I'm going to talk to Brian and Neil about maybe some effects the pandemic had on couples in general. So please stay tuned for their response.
See, everybody can tell you how to invest your money. There's not a lot of people out there and a lot of firms that can teach you how to use your money. Most people will also tell you that they're scared. And the reason they're scared is because they're afraid of running out of money.
The last thing you want to do is have a really good job into your 60s, retire, and be looking for work again in your late 70s.
The average person might say, well, a good portfolio would be a good mix of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. No, 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 no. A good portfolio is all designed around the 5 key areas: income, taxes, investments, healthcare, and legacy planning.
We're not just product pickers here. What we do best here is we build retirement plans.
9 out of 10 people, when they walk through the door, would ask us, we just want to know if we're on the right track. And I always say, if you're not on the right track, when would be a good time to know it? Probably now.
People, can actually see a vision once we start to really build out their plan.
This is about you. If you're not getting what you need, and you feel that when you walk out of the advisor's office, it's time to get a second opinion. And you can't get a second opinion from the person that gave you the first opinion. The difference at Secure Money Advisors, as a fiduciary firm, we help you manage the risk, build the income, and give you the retirement you dreamed of.
And welcome back to On the Money with Secure Money. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Brian Quaranta. He is president and founder of Secure Money Advisors, as well as Neil Major, senior investment advisor. Gentlemen, I'd love to talk to you a little bit about, in this segment, of course, people that have gone through the pandemic together as a couple, if you will. What sort of changes have you seen, even in relationships, retirement early, all of those things, Brian?
I would say the biggest one, we've seen a lot of people want to retire sooner than later.
Okay.
We've had a lot of clients come in that have been clients for the past 5-10 years that we were tracking towards retirement. And we always show people how they can get retired early. This time they're taking us up on it.
Right.
Because what was happening is, of course, more and more people had the opportunity to work from home.
Okay.
And they got a little taste of not having to wake up, get ready, fight traffic, get to the office. They were working from home. And when the company started calling them back into the office, they're like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so we had a number of clients that we retired years earlier than what they were telling us they wanted to, because being home, being with their family, being around their spouse, right? For some that was good, for others it wasn't. But it really accelerated their want to get into retirement. And I think people reevaluated what was important.
Yeah.
So I think you would probably say the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I think one of the things that I think that we do well is that we stress test the plans, right? I mean, we stress test it to determine, okay, I know that you want to retire at 67, but what if it didn't happen? And what if we had to adjust? So we typically build out retirement at 62, retirement at 65, retirement at 67. Because what I saw a lot of was, hey, Neil, I know we had mapped out retiring at 67, but I know I'm only 63. My company's laid me off, or I'm not going back into the office, or I'm concerned about COVID impacting my health, and I don't want to go back into the office. So, we were able to make adjustments. So because we've built out the model already of being able to identify what those numbers already look like, we're simply able to make some adjustments and implement the plan a little sooner than
I think
later.
that's probably one of the most rewarding things about what we do is And I can't stress this enough, and that's why I'm very proud of Secure Money Advisors, and we have a lot of talented people that work there that have helped, build this out, what we have today. But it's probably the most rewarding thing that we do is being able to implement a retirement strategy earlier for somebody,
Right.
and have the confidence ourselves in knowing that the model works.
Yeah.
Because again, as I've talked about on other shows, is you have to have some guarantees built into a retirement plan in order to make it happen, because there is a lot of uncertainty with a lot of financial products and strategies. So you have to have some certainty built in. And it's one thing I think we do really, really well. The other thing is, you did have people that wanted to get back to work, though, because they were around their spouse too much.
Right.
Or it was
Got
just
a little taste of retirement.
they got a little
They
taste
weren't
of
ready.
retirement, and they weren't ready.
Yeah.
Oh,
They weren't. They
yeah.
were not. As a matter of fact, I have a client that I worked with a couple weeks ago. We were going to retire this year, and he's decided to delay because he was working from home so much he didn't like it. And so he's back in the office now, and he enjoys being there. He enjoys being around his colleagues. So there are people that have healthy work environments that they want to be around, and they're just not ready to exit yet. And that's okay too. The point of having a well-designed plan, as Neil said, is being able to adjust no matter what, right? Whether we want to retire sooner, we want to retire later. And having a real plan built around real math, around black and white figures, not based on opinions or fancy sales brochures, allows you to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, what happens when one spouse retires and the other one is still going to work every day? Have you seen anything like that recently?
Yeah, it never really goes well.
I was going to ask you.
It never really goes
Kind
well.
of a shift
No.
there. I
Yeah,
know.
it is. It is. I had some folks come in. I retired the husband last year, and the wife was going to stay on for another year because they were going to stay on her health benefits, right?
Okay.
Although I had worked into the plan that if they had to pay for health insurance, we had more than enough money to be able to do that. But they felt that she was going to keep working to keep the benefits. And I think it was like after 8 months they came in, and they were a little bit early for the reviews. So the first thing I did, and I said, "What is it that you want to address?" She says, "Well, I'm tired of getting up and him still being in bed and me having to go to work. So I want to talk to you about retiring sooner
Yeah.
than later." And I said, "Sounds good to me. We talked about it last year. I was going to retire them both at the same time." So yeah, you'll see this. The other thing you'll see though is I had a client a couple years ago that retired. His wife was a homemaker for many years, right?
Okay.
And they were the most loving couple I've ever met in my entire life. Matter of fact, when I was sitting there and I met them the first time, they were holding hands in the conference room. I thought they had just gotten married. And I asked them, they said that they've been married for 30 years. And I was
Wow.
really impressed with the affection that they were showing in the conference room. Well, they came back 6 months after he retired, and they weren't saying a word. You could cut the tension, with a knife. And of course, as I opened up the meeting, I could tell something was wrong, and I wasn't really sure what was wrong. And then, of course, she tells me he's getting in my way. She had her routine.
Yes. I just experienced that.
So did you?
Yeah, so I same example. I had a client come in.
Yeah.
He typically traveled most
Right.
months, so
Right.
he was out of the state.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden he's retired.
Yeah.
And he's in her way.
Right.
She's used to doing her thing, having her space, kind of
Yeah.
doing what she
Yeah.
likes to do, and now all of a sudden he's there. And,
He's there every day.
she doesn't like it, but
Right.
they're such sweet and kind people.
Yeah,
but,
right.
You
But
can
those
tell
are adjustments.
it's an
Those are the
adjustment.
adjustments outside of the finances
Yeah.
that you have to get accustomed to, depending on, what lifestyle you've lived. But
Yes.
our meetings can be relatively funny from time to time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure, because you're hearing everything.
Yeah, and
which
you're
is-
hearing a lot of times for couples that we meet, sometimes that's the first time
Yeah.
that they're discussing investment philosophy together.
Oh.
So when we ask questions independently of them, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? For the first time, they're talking about it for the very first time together, and they might actually have opposite opinions, and they're just discovering this. So that's always very interesting too.
Oh, my goodness. Well, Brian, I know that
Yeah.
you and Neil have a special offer to present
Yeah.
to the viewers at home. Let's talk about what that is and then reopen the phone lines.
Folks, for the next 10 callers who call in right now, we're going to give you an opportunity to come in, sit down with us, and get a complimentary Right Track retirement review. It's going to help you understand retirement thoroughly. It's going to give you that roadmap that you need to get from where you are to where you need to go. We're going to cover the 5 key areas with you when you come in: income, taxes, investment, investments, healthcare, and estate planning. But you've got to do your part. Pick up the phone today, call 1-888-382-1298, and schedule that Right Track Retirement Review today.
Brian, thank you so much. Neil, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 888-382-1298. We have to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. I do have viewer questions coming up next, and the next one could be yours. Stay tuned.
If I could help you increase your income, if I could help you pay less taxes, if I could help you potentially maximize the returns of your investments while reducing risk, reducing fees, if I could help you prepare for a health event, or more importantly, when the good Lord decides to take you home, to make sure that the money you've accumulated over your lifetime goes to your family and to your charities rather than the IRS, would that be worth the time to come in and get a second opinion?
And welcome back to On the Money with Secure Money. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Brian Quaranta. He is president and founder of Secure Money Advisors, as well as Neil Major. He's actually senior investment advisor. Gentlemen, a great show we're having today, talking about the importance of planning properly for retirement and the different things that happen when people enter the retirement years, if you will. But now we have viewer questions. So I love these. We never know what people are going to be asking when they call in.
That's the truth.
These are great questions. Neil, I'm going to start with you because
Yeah,
you're
let's
smiling.
go.
Are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. This is a great question. It says, Neil, I'm 62 and I was planning to work for another 4 years before retiring. However, my job is wearing me down and I'm not happy there anymore. So I'm tempted to just quit and start taking Social Security now that I'm eligible and then work a low-stress part-time job somewhere. Have you seen people do this successfully?
Yeah, we actually just spoke about this, right? I mean, just the fact that a lot of
First
people.
off, I got to tell you're not alone, whoever you are. We see that all the time.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
we
people
just
that don't.
said because of COVID and everything else, we saw
Yeah.
a lot of early retirement happen, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we've absolutely seen it work, right? I mean, people taking a different position, lower stress. We always hear about companies changing and the more work and less employees. So now I got more work on my plate. And so, you want to take Social Security and you're going to take a part-time job. You do have to be careful with the income thresholds if you're going to take Social Security before your full retirement age. You also want to make sure that if you are going to pull the trigger to retire early and you're going to take Social Security early, that you do have some money set aside so when you're no longer able to even do the part-time job, that you're able to supplement the Social Security. So there's still a lot to uncover there with that question.
Okay.
And I would say, too, that, I like the idea of let me leave my job that I'm in and work a part-time, stress-free job.
Yeah.
I would say, before you even do that, why don't we just build you a strategy that gets you retired right now? So that you can, if you want to go work the part-time job, you can, but you don't have to.
Great
right?
idea.
It's not, so that's the strategy you want to focus on is, if you want to go that direction, it's because you want to, not because you have to. And that's what good planning can do.
Brian, thank you. Neil, thank you. Brian, this next question is for you. The whole idea of not working anymore makes me really nervous about our financial future, Brian. I've worked for over 50 years and I can't imagine just stopping. How can I know that the resources I have accumulated will meet our needs for the rest of our lives?
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what we do. And this is the peace of mind that we provide, because that's exactly what I hear all the time when people come in. And even if they're interviewing 3 or 4 different financial firms, they'll settle on us because we're the only ones that showed them that they're going to have the peace of mind to retire and that the assets are going to last for that period of time because of the extensive planning that we do. And so it's an adjustment, right?
Sure.
But with a plan, a real written plan, mathematically spelled out, with different scenarios built in, you will feel comfortable and you will have the peace of mind and confidence to retire, and that concern that you have will be addressed and it will go away.
Okay, all right. Brian,
It's always interesting because we spend 40 or 50 years, we're taught to save money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And all of a sudden we flip the switch
Yeah.
to go into retirement
Yeah.
and start spending it.
Right.
That's
And so
true.
that's why the plan is so important. We got to give you the peace of mind to be able to pull the trigger, to understand that if we are going to take distributions to provide you income, that we're never going to come to 85, 90, 95 years old and say, oh, we're out of money,
Right.
didn't work out.
Right.
So you
Yeah.
really need that peace of mind, and I think that's what Secure Money Advisors really specializes in, is showing you exactly how we're going to go about doing that and giving you the ability to pull the trigger and knowing that you have peace of mind going into retirement.
Yeah, great point.
That was wonderful. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Neil, this next question is for you. It says, Neil, I recently changed jobs and I can't decide what to do with my 401k. I can either leave it where it is, roll it into an IRA, or roll it into the 401k at my new job. I'm planning to retire in 4 years at age 67. How much does it matter which one I do?
Well, it matters a lot because it sounds like they're in what I call the financial red zone, right? I mean, they're nearing that date of retirement. So you want them, it becomes very specific what you should be doing at that point. So the good news about IRAs is you have the ability to shop the entire marketplace to find the right investment options. So I would say, you know, find your local fiduciary. I don't know where you're located, but we're up in Zelienople.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
And come on up and we'll help you build out a strategy and a plan to make sure that you are on the right track, that we can find your purpose of that money in the future, and then we can look at finding the right investment options by shopping the entire marketplace.
Okay.
401ks, you know, just to add to that, I mean, the 401ks are very limited as far as what they can offer too. If you ever looked at a 401k plan, typically there might be 25 to 30 investment options in there. I mean, look, we go through that at Secure Money Advisors. We have a 401k for the company, and there's only 25 to 30 investment options in there. Each of my team members, you know, that invest in the 401k, they do it because they have higher contribution amounts, right? So it makes sense because they can put a lot of money away there. But, you know, they all have what we call an in-service withdrawal available to them as they get closer to retirement. They're going to actually be able to roll their money out of their 401k. And I, you know, even though I own the company, would encourage them to do that because I know that having more options available to them is going to be advantageous to them. And a lot of times you can't get into the tactically managed portfolios or the professional money managers inside of a 401k. Typically it's traditional mutual funds that, you know, are mediocre to par at best, probably don't have real good ratings or returns, and they're probably a little bit heavy on fees. So moving to a traditional IRA where you do have the freedom to do what you want is way more advantageous.
And what we're seeing too is a lot of folks are picking those target date funds, right? Because they feel that they're more secure, safer investments. Well, I remember in December of 2019 meeting with a guy who was in a 2020 target date fund. Now, his preference was to not take an in-service rollover to an IRA. He wanted to wait until he retired in April of that year to roll his money over. Well, what happened, he comes back in March of 2020 when COVID was initially happening, and he was down 30% on his 2020 target date fund.
Right.
So that's why you choose the right options and you do it sooner than later.
Which, by the way, if you don't know what the target date fund means, it means this guy had a 2020 target date fund, which means that that fund was assuming that he was going to retire in 2020. So the idea of the fund was that it was going to get more conservative as he got closer to that retirement date. And of course, to Neil's point, it didn't. But this is why we offer the Right Track Retirement Review, folks, because we can help you sort all of this out. So for the next 10 callers who call in right now, it's a complimentary Right Track Retirement Review. Don't kick the can down the road. Don't procrastinate. Call us immediately, 1-888-382-1298, and schedule that appointment with us today.
Brian, Neil, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, thank you for spending time with us. The number is 888-382-1298. We'll see you back next week.